All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checker TV. Final race for the Area 51 Superspeedway Truck Series. I'm Maxwell Caldwell here, along with one of your favorite broadcasters on Green White Checker TV. Boomer Logan is in the booth tonight. Boomer, I'm used to having you as my fearless leader, but you're over there kind of doing the IndyCar side of things now, but came back here for the final race of the season here at Talladega. We know how these truckers like to race, and with about 19 to 20 of them here in the field, what are you expecting here tonight, Boomer?
I am definitely excited to be back with you, Maxwell, and you've been doing a great job running the show over here when I can't do too many Thursday nights anymore. But I'm excited to be back for the finale of the season. Obviously, there's been a ton of action so far, and it'll be fun to see who we're actually going to crown as our champion this season for the season tonight.
Absolutely. It has been crazy for sure. Speaking of, let's go ahead and bring up these point standings for you. So, tonight, with it being the final race of the season, we are going to keep all eyes on the top 8 drivers here. Ninth place on back, really just racing for fun here tonight. So, your top 8, Kevin Freeze in the 25, currently leads there. But just 16 points back is Gabe Butler, still in earshot here of a title, a repeat title even. But look at third and fourth. They are tied, each with 1,103 points. And they're only 1 point behind Gabe Butler, so only 17 behind Kevin Freeze. So the top 4 still very well in it. But fifth on back, it's going to take a lot of luck and a lot of things happening here. J.D. Crowe going to have a picture-perfect race to try to make this happen. Robert Rock there in 6th, Jay Hilliard 7th, and Robert Duvendak no longer running with us. And you'll have to excuse the numbers of these drivers maybe being a little bit off there, 5th through 8th. Apologize for that. But, Boomer, as we look at these points here, anybody in that top 4 could take this tonight. Now, granted, Vicente and Dean, they may have a lot of work cut out for them along with Gabe, but those 3 are only separated 2nd through 4th by 1 point. I mean, it's anybody's game, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen plenty of times where, someone has one bad night, and really, Kevin Freese is really just looking to have a decent night tonight, maybe collect a couple bonus points here and there, solidify that lead a little bit more. Obviously, he's got, what he needs to try and pad that lead and maybe have a conservative night. But if he gets wrecked out of this early, he's definitely opening the door for Gabe Butler, Vicente Guerrero, and Dean Wilkinson. They're absolutely still in this championship battle, and it'll be really exciting to see how it ends up tonight.
Absolutely. So would you say for Kevin Freese, his main goal is to just ride around maybe in that top 10, even possibly top 15, and just kind of ride it out till those last few laps and just, if a few drivers wreck, kind of just lock this thing up that way? Or do you think he's got to be up front and be aggressive all night long?
I know every time that I ever broadcasted on Thursday nights, I'd always say that my goal as in a super speedway race is always to get to the front and try to stay there, do as much as you can. And, anything can happen at any point in time. And the further you are to the front, the more you have options and can control the race and are less likely to be caught up in a wreck. So I would be trying to still go towards the front, at least in my mentality. That's, changing your strategy for a race like this is difficult. Sometimes you just need to go with, hey, this has worked all season so far. That's got me the championship lead up until this last final race. Maybe, stick with what you've been doing. And, that would be something that I look to see Kevin do tonight. Just try to stick with what he's been doing and what he's been good at all season long, which has been up in the front and winning races. So he's going to try and, I would assume, try and do a little bit of what's got him to this point so far and stick with that tonight.
Absolutely. It's going to be an interesting race tonight for the championship, and Kevin's got a good dominant lead, but Boomer, I remember as an Area 51 driver on Thursday nights before it was super speedways, we had some races, and we came into a race where the points leader in the final race had a 20-point gap, and guess what? It all went away right there at the end. So qualifying has wrapped up for us here tonight, and so as we start setting the grid, we need to look at our starting lineup. should be appearing right here on your screen. And I've actually got, yeah, so qualifying has wrapped up. Here are your starting positions here. Gary Jenkins gonna get the pole here tonight over Kevin Freeze. That's huge for bonus points. Second place gonna go to Kevin Freeze. Jimmy Crow there in the third position. Gabe Butler, another playoff driver, lining up right behind Kevin Freeze in fourth. Robert DuPont in fifth. Dean Wilkinson, yet another playoff driver, 3 lined up in a row there in sixth. Seventh is Randy Miner. Eighth, Bud Steele. Vicente Guerrero in the ninth spot. And J.D. Crow rounds out your top 10. Eric Laurie for Team Bootknocker there in the 11th spot. James Mohan there in 12th. Jay Hilliard 13th. Robert Jordan 14th. Brian Wang, one of our dominating drivers, did not get the lap in, I guess, that he wanted. Maybe too late out there. Going to start in the 15th spot. And for those that did not take time, the 16th spot goes to Seth Groover. Guile Brooks in 17th. Robert Rock in 18th. And finally wrapping up our field is Richard Sanchez. So, definitely got a lot of hungry drivers in the field. And Boomer, I know you know quite a few of these names. Whether they're playoff or not, who do you think you're looking for to try to win this race here tonight?
I mean, obviously it might sound cliche, but a lot of the guys in the playoffs are usually the guys that are up front. You know, I mean, we saw a lot of Gabe Butler and Vicente Guerrero and Dean Wilkinson towards the front of the pack. You know, since I've left the Thursday night broadcasts, I mean, there's a lot of great names in that top 8 in points right now. Obviously, Kevin Freese is a bit of a new name for me, and Robert Duvendek. You know, looks like they've been having a great season so far. You know, I mean, consistency seems to be Kevin Freese's you know, goal throughout the season. You know, for the most part, has been kind of up in the top half of the you know, the top 10, top 15. So it's, you know, a lot of these guys that are up there, I think, are definitely going to do really well, as they usually do. And obviously, you know what, we'll give a shout out to Guy Brooks, hoping to see him have some fun tonight out there in that green white checker TV truck.
Absolutely. Good to see the boss man out there tonight getting to run trucks. Helped me kind of getting started in the booth, and then he got to spread his wings and fly and get out here and race with these truckers. And I don't want to spoil any news for him, but next season might look interesting for our fearless leader, Guile Brooks, but I'll wait till later on for that. But you talked about Kevin Freese being an unfamiliar name. To those of you that have watched Green White Checker TV for multiple seasons, he is a very household name. Took a season or 2 off, but has come back. He is a part of the original Team Bootknocker team there. So him and Gabe have been running for many a years here on iRacing, and it's not surprising at all to see them running up front like this and being bumper to bumper. So looking for that outside lane to go pretty strong here at the start, but Boomer, one thing you haven't got to do is see a lot of this new pit strategy here. You know, we have 3 extra laps than we did last season from 75 to 78. Really kind of takes fuel strategy out for the most part. Quickly, what are your thoughts on that before we take the green?
Yeah, I know we got to see a few of those races last season before I stopped doing the Thursday broadcast, and it definitely makes a little bit of a difference. I mean, you wouldn't think that 3 laps, you know, makes it, but it gives them a chance to, you know, they have to make that extra pit stop no matter what, unless it's a fuel mileage race. So definitely more about the drivers and how they race the race versus how they race the fuel.
Absolutely. Coming through the tri-oval, though, for one last time this season, Race 12 is now underway for the Area 51 Superspeedway Truck Series. We see Gary Jenkins leading the bottom lane, but Kevin Freese out to a big jump with Gabe Butler going into turn 1.
Yeah, definitely staying pretty calm, cool and collected, 2 wide for the most part here. I'm sure someone's going to try and jump out to that third lane fairly soon here, but for now, Jenkins on that inside line with the 25 machine on that outside line, and there it goes. There's third lane already down the backstretch into turn number 3.
Absolutely. Calling it there, Boomer, is Bud Steele and J.D. Crow. We talked about J.D. in a almost must-win situation here tonight to try to pull off the championship. He's really right on that edge of, with the amount of trucks we have, of being almost out of it, but not quite. But he's going to have everything go his way here tonight. Definitely trying to get up there early and get some bonus points, as it looks like Kevin Freese will lead the first lap, and that's bad news for the rest of the field, Boomer, because that's another bonus point in his pocket.
Yeah, for sure. And it looks it's pretty tight so far. If there still are opportunities for Gabe Butler, Vicente Guerrero, and Dean Wilkinson to win this championship tonight. Obviously, that door continues to close as Kevin earns those bonus points. So Kevin's probably going to try and earn as many laps led as he possibly can to collect those extra bonus points and try to get that 3-point bonus for a 0x race as well. So he's doing everything he can to try and stay there and try and secure that championship battle just on bonus points alone.
Absolutely going to try his best, but he is getting fought from the inside and the outside. The 90 of Gary Jenkins wants to try to lead a lap along with Bud Steele, but right now looks like that middle lane seems to be dominant as Kevin moves to the bottom. Now that 90 is another teammate, but Boomer, I'm kind of surprised that he moved away from our defending series champion there, Gabe Butler.
Yeah, definitely would expect teammates to start to work together early on, but he's got to do what he's got to do to win that championship. And I know these guys work really well as teammates, but they also know that when it comes down to it, somebody's got to win it, and not everyone on the team can. So somebody has to make that move to be there and win it. And obviously, the team can do well, but one person can only win the race.
Absolutely, but it looks like everybody's trying to win it here early on. 3x3, at least 4 rows deep. These guys are making it work, but hey, Talladega is big and wide and fast, and will this be the first lap we see someone other than Kevin lead? Couldn't hardly tell there at the line, but it is super close. We see Bud Steele.
Might have been Bud Steele.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm thinking. Bud Steele might have just snuck that one out there. Not one of your playoff drivers, but definitely wanting to race for the last victory of the season. And, Boomer, we see these guys 3x3 right now. Do you think that intensity is setting in, that some of these guys are like, hey, this is the last race of the season. I need momentum going into the next one. Now's my chance to get up here and win. Who cares about the playoffs? I just want the trophy tonight. You think that might be some of these drivers' mentality?
I think for the most part, these guys are very respectful of those playoff drivers, and know that those are the guys that are really competing for the champion. But doesn't mean that they can't get up there in the mix and try to win for themselves and try to get that. Obviously, anytime you can win a race, period, it's a great feeling and something that you're really striving for. I mean, I would assume that's everyone's goal in this league, right? With the nature of plate racing, it's really achievable for just about anybody in this field. So I would expect that everyone comes into that every single week, that being their goal. And, obviously want to be respectful of those playoff drivers, but still want to go like hell and try to win it for yourself.
Absolutely. And, speaking of that, we did see Gabe Butler got up there and snuck a lap lead. That's important because that is one less point Kevin can say goes in his favor over that second-place driver in Gabe Butler. And those two are teammates, but they're going to be battling out for this championship. And if they're both running up front like this, the one's going to have to not hope for it, but at the same time hope something happens to that 25. But definitely a long race to go. Just now completing lap 5 here at the Talladega Superspeedway, starting lap 6 of 78. The pack trying to string out just a little, but we still got 3 wide action here mid-pack.
Yeah, definitely. Still 3 wide there. As the bottom lane kind of breaks free for a little bit. A couple guys riding around in the back just trying to stay on the draft there. And obviously Robert Rock, just trying to stay at the back, kind of stay quiet with some of his other teammates there and just wait for the end because, they know very well back there that anything can possibly happen. And, you could be taken out at any moment by being up in the pack. So kind of employing the opposite strategy of being up front, just trying to be in the back and protect. And hopefully that, something does happen to where he can take that advantage of getting through the field at some point to get up there and try to contend for the win, but being conservative to start the race is Robert Rock.
Absolutely. Riding here with the driver, Robert Rock, and looking strong out here tonight for sure, but just trying to be careful and making sure that he stays out of trouble, stays out of the way. Now, he's pretty well out of the fight for the championship itself, but hey, he could definitely try to move up a couple spots in these point standings and end the season with a good top 4 in the points. So looking at that, and even more likely looking for that race win. So another thing to talk about as the field is still going, Jimmy Crow is your leader here in the 39. He has worked his way to the front. But if you're looking for your favorite driver tonight with only 19 in the field, our ticker on the side will show 19 drivers at all times. And if you're looking for your favorite championship contender, they are, of course, highlighted in green over here on the left, so you can keep up with them as the race goes on. And as much as we thought it was going to calm down a minute, here they are 3 by 3 again, Boomer.
Yeah, there we go. Pretty much about 3-4 rows deep. Obviously, you see the 0-2 of Seth Groover out there trying to make something happen on the outside line. He absolutely loves being up there with, now he's got Bud Steele in front of him and Dean Wilkinson, so plenty of fun to be had up on that top line as he try to make that work around the speedway. Just the three of them are doing pretty well, making a little bit of progress by themselves. Hoping to see that they can try and at least maybe get in front of that number one machine of Gabe Butler and try and get to ahead of him to maybe lead that middle lane. But yeah, for now, 3-wide action is always, as a broadcaster, always a fun sight to see.
Absolutely. It's good to see the bottom lane, though, starting to find strength in numbers. And typically we don't see this, Boomer. Typically that middle and top lane has a lot of momentum and a lot of things going for them. But this bottom lane, as we get a big, wide view here, we see just how many trucks are down on the bottom. And as we get close to the halfway point of this fuel run already, definitely seeing guys trying to take it easy on the bottom and trying to get up toward the top. But interesting move here. Jimmy Crow going to quit leading the race and start to drop to the back. Maybe feeling like things are going to get hairy here before pit stops and just wanting to get out of the way maybe. Kind of an interesting move there, Boomer.
Yeah, definitely. He's not really going for points, so the bonus point there isn't, doesn't mean a ton to him. But, yeah, definitely interesting for sure that he would jump out of it. But who knows?
Absolutely. So dropping to the back is that 39, but up front, a very familiar face, Boomer. It's like he never left. It is Gabe Butler there in the one truck on point, hooked up with his teammate and Kevin Freeze. I'm kind of shocked that this late in the game, Kevin's really wanting to work with Gabe unless he's thinking, hey, I've got a very big points gap, and as long as I stay within a few positions of Gabe Butler, I'm still going to be the champion at the end of the night. So maybe working that strategy, but if I'm Gabe, I'm kind of wanting to shake that 25 and shimmy him toward the back of the pack so I can have a chance at this championship.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously they're, working together tonight, and I think they'll be the first ones to tell you, especially on pretty much everyone at Team Bootnaka Esports. They're really trying to make sure that somebody from their team wins the race, and obviously both teammates trying to go for that championship here. Going to see how it plays out as far as those bonus points. I think for the most part, if that 25 machine was able to get the bonus point for the most laps led, that should be enough to just all but completely seal up the championship for him. So definitely being courteous to give his teammate a shot and push him around to lead some laps and see what Gabe can do to try and secure Gabe maybe a second place spot in the championship, if not the overall championship.
Absolutely. The thing here in Area 51, though, 8 spots. But unlike other leagues, I mean, the top spots, all that pays is we see kind of some movement there in the back. Saw it with JD Crow. Guys kind of got a little loose there in the tri-oval. Looks like they saved it, but definitely some weird 3-wide racing action going on here in the back. So definitely something happened there to cause these guys to get squirrely. But as you see, some of these guys not content with riding down on the bottom lane. We see the 59 and the 55 both moving up to the middle lane. Vicente Guerrero, a championship hopeful. He is tired of riding. Look at him in that 14 truck moving to the front. And, we haven't talked about him yet tonight, Boomer. I know you remember Vicente from me and you broadcasting together. We know how fast he is, and I've been looking all season waiting for him to get a win. Maybe tonight could be the night that he pulls that off. And, he's close enough. If things go his way, he could even pull off a championship here tonight.
Yeah, man, that would be cool to see. First-time winner and a champion. That would be a heck of an event to watch. Definitely, still looking pretty much about as they started the race as of the last time by at the stripe. Currently, the points sit with Kevin Freeze on top, leading Gabe Butler by about 11 points. Vicente Guerrero is about 22 points behind Kevin Freeze, and Dean Wilkinson is about 24 points behind. So definitely doesn't help that 25 machine is up there in the top 5 running there on the second lane in the or second car in the truck in the inside lane. But yeah, definitely, I gotta get used to saying truck again. I got used to saying car with the IndyCar series on Tuesday nights. But yeah, definitely doesn't bode well for the rest of the championship contenders that 25 is still staying up there and controlling this race with his teammate ahead of him.
Absolutely, and we see a battle for the lead now. Vicente Guerrero, he might have just led that lap, pushed by Dean Wilkinson to get a bonus point, and that might have been his goal, seeing his championship adversaries here getting bonus points, knowing he had to get one too just to stay in touch. But definitely see him falling back just a little bit here now. But lap 14, getting ready to come to lap 15. We're going to be about 5 laps away from pit stops. And Boomer, it's always crazy. I don't know how it was on the IndyCar side when it comes to pitting, but all these guys are going to come in big, massive packs going from about 175 to 180 miles an hour down to a measly 60 mile an hour or so on this pit road. So definitely can win this race making great pit stops, but you can lose it real quick with just one bad one here at the start.
Yeah, for sure. Especially on the IndyCar nights, we saw a lot of yellow flags thrown by people checking up or getting spun out or just spinning themselves on the entrance of pit road at times this season. So definitely a lot cleaner typically here in the Super Speedway series than the trucks on Thursday night, but still treacherous. And it's one of those things where if you can try and get, especially at Super Speedway racing, you can make so much of a difference just by getting into and off of pit road very, very, very fast as you can. It makes a huge difference, and you'll definitely see some of the guys that are really good at it are going to come out way ahead of the guys that aren't as good at it, and we'll definitely be looking to see that during this next green flag pit cycle.
Absolutely. We'll see who's good and who's bad, and with playoff drivers and championships on the line, what would happen if Kevin Freese, overshot his stall even, just had a little bit of a hiccup? That could be detrimental to his championship, especially if we go green and something were to happen, he go a lap down. So for these drivers, Gabe Butler, I can already tell you what his plan is. He's not going to save any fuel tonight like we're used to seeing. He's going to stay up front, I believe, and try to lead the most laps and get that second bonus point, one that Kevin and Vicente or anyone else cannot get. But how interesting is it that our top 4 in points are running top 4 in the race right now? Doesn't it always seem to go that way, Boomer, when the money's on the line and the trophy's getting ready to get handed out, the cream rise to the top, and here they are, the top 4 running in this race tonight.
Yeah, definitely impressive. I mean, like we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, these guys are up there every single week competing for race wins. That's why they're here in this championship battle and have this opportunity to try and win this championship tonight. They're there for a reason, and they've pretty much shown it just about all season long. So, doing what they do best and giving us a show here that we absolutely love watching.
Absolutely, these truckers going hard, and as we see a big zoomed in view, we see these guys really still racing side by side. And these guys on the outside, do you think they're trying to get to the bottom, or are they planning to run another lap as we see the 55 of Dean Wilkinson kind of pull out there and start dropping back?
Yeah, we'll see. I know everyone's trying to get to the bottom typically to make sure that they can get onto pit road and make a clean pit stop. It's really difficult to pit from the second lane if the guy inside of you is not pitting. But sounds like from the driver's chat, sounds like we're going to see a few coming through this time. And unfortunately, it looks like Gael Brooks is hung out to dry, pretty much the only one in that outside lane there. So we'll see quite a bit of organization there of everyone trying to get down to pit road here. It sounds like at least the 14 of Vicente Guerrero is coming in this time, probably more.
And that's going to be an interesting move, Boomer, on lap 18 coming to start lap 19. Seems to be about a lap early from what we've seen all season long. So I wonder if these guys are finding benefit in the short pit. They've run this whole season. They know exactly how much fuel they can get. And maybe they're just trying to make that stop maybe a half second to a second quicker. That way they can make it. But it looks like all these guys are bypassing pit road for now.
Yeah, so I guess I apologize. My intel was not correct, but yeah, as far as short pitting go, I mean, they know exactly how much fuel they need for the race. They practice this lap count every single week. Obviously, there's a little bit less fuel here or a little bit less laps in a fuel run than at Daytona that we also run. But they know that's planned out ahead of time. It's not like you're really drastically changing the strategy. It's always super speedway racing here on Thursday nights. So, they plan this out every single week, and they get a really good idea of what they need to do week in and week out. And there is only so much room that you can really play with that. So, if you do short pit, sometimes you can run a little bit longer stage in the middle. Sometimes that helps with staying with the draft or trying to do more. But it looks like we have a couple cars down on pit road this time by.
Absolutely, trying to catch some of these guys coming into pit road. Oh, and Seth Groover missing it a little bit. Did you see that?
That's going to be, I think, a pit road entrance penalty, commitment penalty for sure.
That will definitely be one of those penalties. But just these two by themselves, I don't know if something happened. Looks like some damage there to JD's truck. Oh, taking the faster pair. Did you see that? Very early on in this race, he's going to have to try to watch his P's and Q's if he wants to run for a championship. But going back here to the main pack, those two trucks by themselves, I'm afraid they're going to lose a lot of time there, Boomer. May even cause them to lose this draft after green flag pit stops are all said and done.
Yeah, we'll see. And I am amazed that Seth Groover actually went all the way out to the grass, but did not commit a pit road violation entry, as we see just about the entire field coming down this time by. So,
and there's contact in the back.
Wow, lots of cars trying. That's the entire field. That's the entire field except for Jimmy Crow Jr., J.D. Crow, and Seth Groover. Wow, pit road is a busy place.
Absolutely. Let's see if these guys can get in their boxes okay. Seeing a bunch of guys driving through stalls trying to be safe. Some guys overshooting. Oh, there's one there. Look at the 101 of Randy Minor. Definitely overshot that stall. But looking up through pit road, there's not a lot to watch here, folks. Almost the entire field on pit road. But here we go. We see some of these guys making some great stops, and one of those is the 2 of Brian Wang. Ooh, and maybe a little contact with the 07 of Robert DuPont coming out.
Yeah, definitely a tight exit as you get single file. Obviously, it's a pretty easy pit exit. You can go full throttle all the way around, unlike at Daytona where it's a little bit sketchier. But I'll be interested to see the 02 and the 5 are actually coming through turn 2 right now. They have a lot of steam, but I don't know if they're going to be able to make it to the front of this pack. They're definitely going to be quite behind. Hopefully, they'll be able to catch up to the tail end of the pack, but looks like we are going to lose at least Robert Jordan there, who was slow on that pit cycle. He will not be able to join the pack, seeing he's about 5 seconds back, but for the most part, everyone a fairly even shake through the pit cycle, but you see the 25 in that one machine. Now that whole group of 5 cars has about a 1 second breakaway from the front at the front of the pack.
And we have seen this throughout the season. If you get 2 or 3 cars that can break away, they might be able to pull away from the pack. But looking here at timing and scoring, looks like Dean Wilkinson is close enough and has enough help that they should be able to suck right back up to this pack. And honestly, they're probably going to set a pretty fast lap time here as they catch back up. But definitely looks like most of the pack, as we kind of flip through, all having a draft of some sort to try to keep up. Except for our buddy Robert Jordan back here, who is now already almost 14 seconds back, Boomer. Think about how many seconds he has lost in just one lap.
Yeah, for sure. It looks like I don't know if he has a little bit of damage too, because he was about 4 seconds off the pace compared to everyone else that last time by. So I don't know if he just didn't elect to take a fast spur or what, but we'll have to see where his pace is at the stripe. But definitely seems to be underpowered for now, which might make for a long night, and that's seen as we're only 23 laps into this deal.
Yeah, that'll make a long night for sure. But through pit stops, we did have a swap for the lead. Kevin Freeze back up front. He's really trying to fight to make sure teammate Gabe Butler does not get the most laps led here tonight. So that will be a story we have to watch throughout the evening. But something else, we've talked about Team Bootknocker a lot tonight, but here's Dean Wilkinson. He's kind of the closer here. We know how good he is at Super Speedway Racing, and he is leading the charge for TW Motorsports. Boomer, when I broadcasted with you, we had tons of TW Motorsports drivers, but this season's only been per race maybe 3-4 tops. And tonight doesn't look like he's got a whole lot of allies out there, but he's making it work all on his own.
Yeah, it definitely makes it a little bit difficult when you don't have a ton of teammates, but sometimes, you can run by yourself and make things happen. Obviously, Dean's been one of the front runners of that TW Motorsports group, no matter who's been running with him. But gets a little sideways there as that push from the 90 maybe goes bad, and they're going to lose a little bit of momentum on that outside lane. But wow, yeah. But you definitely still see Dean up at the front of the pack, working with whoever he can. Whether he has a lot of teammates or not. Obviously, Robert Rock's still kind of electing to be towards the back and try to save his stuff for the end. But you can always count on that 55 being up at the front of the pack.
Absolutely. Normally he hangs out at the back for the first 3 quarters, and you see him at the end. But tonight he knows he's got to get laps led, he's got to get bonus points, and he's got to try to go for the win all night long if he wants a chance at that championship from Kevin Freese. So while these guys are running, we'll kind of go through the field for you here tonight, and we're going to start looking mainly at our playoff drivers. But here we are with Kevin Freese. He is currently leading, but he has just been challenged by Dean Wilkinson, who is battling for that top spot. 2 of your top 2 there in playoff positions, but running strong all night long in the 3rd position. Your defending champion, Gabe Butler, definitely running strong here tonight. And, I would try to look at the points as they currently stand, but I tell you what, I think they're going to look very similar to how we started. All these guys up in the points are really right here with each other, kind of matching laps. As we go to the 7th position, we see our 4th place playoff driver, and that would be Jay Hilliard there. He is currently in the 8th position, but he just got challenged for that by the 14 of Vicente Guerrero. Trying to make sure we go through in a timely order, but it's kind of difficult when they're constantly battling. And 2 guys just trying to hang out here, and they're kind of in a second pack all on their own, really trying to stay out of trouble. There's Robert Rock there in the 15th spot. He'll be at it here toward the end, and then a little further back here at the tail end of this pack, not where he probably wants to be, but we talked about pitting early, how that was going to hurt him a little bit. JD Crow there in the 17th spot. And we do have to say that one driver is currently out of the field tonight, and that will be the 39 of Jimmy Crow. No longer in the race. I think he had something happen where he had to come down pit road under green and just never was able to make it back out. So as we see the second pack, they seem to be kind of gaining an extra car here and maybe going to catch back up to that lead pack. But I don't know about you, Boomer. I kind of always get nervous when I'm in this second pack because I want to save fuel and I want to stay out of trouble. But I know if we have green flag pit stops, I need to be really, really close, if not bumper to bumper, with that lead pack when I come down.
Yeah, definitely. You want to be as close as you possibly can to the front, just about at all times. I mean, there's not that much of a gap there, but there's enough of a gap forming that you want to be conscious of it, and you really got to be on the gas to try and make it back up. Yeah, I think where Gael is sitting right now is honestly a perfect spot. To be maybe 2 to 3 tenths off of the guy in front of you. He could save a little bit of fuel, but he can also, match the gas and be right there in that pack. And obviously now it looks like Eric Laurie's now in a pretty good position too, but everyone's just about getting caught up now. So a little bit of a scare, but if you ever have any damage at any point during the race, if you do that in the slightest bit, you're going to completely lose that draft. So something to think about for guys that may get some damage later on in this race that are trying to save a fast repair. You really have to work really, really hard and make sure you absolutely, stay in that lead pack and not ever lose it.
Absolutely, and it looks like those 5 trucks were able to get back to the tail end of the pack, and you talked about our leader, Guile Brooks, checking in on him. He pays our bills here, so we kind of got to give him some airtime, right, Boomer? So got him here on the bottom lane, about the 6th car in line. And Guile's been doing this. He's been running these truck races some, having fun on Thursday nights, and he just kind of hangs out in the field. I mean, you won't see him until about 20 to go. And then we'll get to that last pit stop, and next thing you know, he's in the top 5, and he's just there at the end. So don't be alarmed that he is in the back so early on, because I give it toward the end of the race and we'll see him battling for a win. And Boomer, I don't know if you've got to see it yet this season, but that's a pretty nice paint that he's got there on that 71 truck, repping the green, white, checker TV colors, and definitely can't miss him on track, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely some beautiful cars out here tonight. As always in this league, there's some very very well painted schemes, and it's always fun to see what everyone's creativity comes through on the track.
Absolutely, and as we go back to the front, we watched them from mid-pack. That 7 of James Mohan and the 202 of Seth Groover hooked up, and those two trucks are making the outside lane work, and we know, Boomer, that there is speed up next to that wall. JD Crow's figuring that out with Eric Lurie going to join in as well. That's just going to make them stronger as they get up there, but those two trucks have literally pushed from dead last in the pack all the way up and are now trying to challenge for the lead. Are you surprised those two trucks in the pack with that energy were able to make that bigger run on their own?
Not necessarily. I mean, sometimes when you are able to hook up really well, you can do a really good job to get through the pack, especially if, at some point the middle lane or the bottom lane stacks up for some other reason. But the other thing you got to be careful about is, if you are pushing that hard as that second place car, you want to make sure that you are not going to overheat that car at all. It could definitely get pretty easy to tuck in behind there and push really well and, completely seal off that nose. And if you don't get enough air in that inlet of that grill, sometimes the engine gets too hot and you could blow up. But it'll definitely work for a lap or two if you're willing to push somebody as hard as you possibly can, get a great run. And obviously now we see that top lane got 4 trucks up there and really working hard to try and get to this front and definitely make it an impact so far.
Absolutely. They are trying to get up there. They got help from the 5 and the 071 trying to make moves to get up front, but we haven't talked about it much since the pit stop. We've got a little sneaky guy right here in the 3rd truck on the bottom lane. He's been 2 wins in a row during these playoffs, really taking away wins from our playoff drivers. Kevin might be the only playoff driver to have won so far in this 4-race playoff. But that 2 truck of Brian Wang, we know it's got speed, and it's been white all season, and for this last race, he definitely decided to go with the pink chrome on it. Definitely trying to get some airtime, so we'll get that for him here. But shocking, he hasn't been trying to get up in front of Kevin Freeze. You think the 1 and the 25 work really well, Boomer? Wait till you see that 2 and 25. Those 2 trucks, when they get together, have been able to literally break away from the pack and be able to pull multiple seconds on the field. So those 2 are a strong duo, but it looks like Gabe Butler's kind of keeping them separated as of now.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, you always seem to find that one other person that you work really, really, really well with. And, you always want to try to get nose to tail with them and, do everything you can to make sure that you and your friend are, the 2 that can have that opportunity to win that race. Obviously, we've mentioned before in past broadcasts that sometimes different manufacturer trucks, the geometry of the noses and the tails, the rear bumpers, the front bumpers don't always line up really well, or some people's driving styles don't really necessarily line up well. Sometimes, as a pusher or, as someone who's being pushed, you don't work well with someone who, might be more aggressive or might be more conservative. And when you find that other person, that match made in heaven for, a pushing partner on a plate track, it makes a world of difference, and it's a lot of fun to race with that person.
Absolutely. It's definitely good when you've got that magic duo. I know for fans watching, y'all remember Andrew being up in the booth with me, raced with him for well over 10 years, so me and him can kind of make that magic as well. We can go to a plate race, Boomer, and I kid you not, we can get out there and not even speak to each other, and if I'm the lead truck and he's pushing, he knows when I'm going to make a move, when I'm going to stay put. We wouldn't even have to communicate. We actually did a race one time where we didn't have mics, and we were able to make our way all the way to the front, kind of like the 7 and the 02 did. So when you find those magic partners, it's definitely interesting out here. And what's also interesting is these playoff guys are getting jockeyed all around, and they're fighting so hard to get those laps led, but we're already 5 laps away, Boomer, from more pit stops. Seems like this second round has really went quick, and we're even sneaking up on the halfway point of this race here in a lap or 2.
Yeah, definitely working on lap number 35 here now. So just shy about 4 laps here to halfway. And yeah, definitely some pit stops coming soon. See if we can see that organization. We saw a breakaway for that 25, the one, and I think the '07 and a couple other trucks there. I think Vicente Guerrero in that group too. But we saw those guys break away by about over a second, and luckily everyone else in the pack was able to catch back up to them. But if they are able to do that again, or if someone else slips up just a little bit, they might have an opportunity to continue to break away from the pack. Or obviously we saw Robert Jordan in that last pit cycle lost the draft. He might have had some other issues as well, but he's just kind of he's sit there stuck a lap down now, and for the most part out of the race unless we see a yellow. So look to see people try to coordinate those pit stops and execute as good as possible. Otherwise, they might lose the draft and potentially lose this race.
Speaking of execution, look at the 55 of Dean Wilkinson chopping the nose of the 25, trying to get down in front of him. You don't think leading laps is important? He knows who he needs to be in front of, and it's the 3 fastest trucks out there. Now Kevin's going to try to get that 1 and possibly that 2 clear of that top lane. You see them pushing a lot harder now because they want to make sure when they get all 3 of their trucks clear, they're probably going to move to the top and try to keep Dean out there to dry. This is for a championship. This is the last thing Team Bootknocker needs, is that 55 leading. Let's see what they do here on the backstretch.
Yeah, definitely looks like that 55 is going to get a chance to get that bonus point. So we'll add that to the tally of bonus points for the live standings that I've been trying to update you guys with. As of right now, it sits still, obviously, Kevin Freese in that championship winning position, but still have to wait and see what can happen because there is still plenty of time left for that to be shaken up.
Absolutely. All sorts of time for that to be shaken up here tonight. But I'm shocked that Team Bootknocker didn't try to go ahead and go back to that commanding lead. They're just kind of content to ride in it. Maybe because here in just 2 short laps, 2 or 3 laps, we're going to see these green flag pit stops. And, we saw trouble with one driver there at the back getting really, really loose. And we got through it the first time. But do you think chaos may be ensuing here as we get deeper and deeper into this race? Pit road could be what wins or loses you a championship here tonight.
Oh, absolutely, and it's one of those things where that excitement or that energy level of the pack. It's not a linear relationship. It's definitely exponential, where it absolutely goes through the roof the further we get into these races. And you definitely expect people to be on edge and trying not to make those mistakes, trying to make sure that they're making race-winning moves and trying to keep moving forward or trying to stay at that front of the pack. So definitely look for that aggression level to absolutely skyrocket the further we get into this race. But as of right now, it's still maybe like a 4 or 5 level out of 10. Still kind of calm. To equate it to like the Buffalo Wild Wings heat scale, we're probably closer to like a spicy garlic right now. We're not quite up to blazing, but I'm sure we will be by the last 5 laps.
Boomer, you've given me the greatest idea in the world. We need a Buffalo Wild Wings sponsored graphic for the intensity of a race. That would be amazing. Guile Brooks, when you go back and watch this, you need to take notes. That's what we need to work on after this season. But with that intensity, what is spicy is this battle up front, because there's 4 trucks that don't want to give up. Yet here comes a few down pit road, and most of the field's going to stay out. But championship contender Dean Wilkinson is on pit road.
Yeah, and Robert Rock, his teammate, he's going to bring him with him. So would have expected this to be maybe a little bit of a teammate play here, trying to get together, link up, and get that draft together. Who knows? If they execute this well, they could potentially even come out ahead of the pack. But have to wait and see if they get through. Obviously, the 55 getting into his pit stall cleanly. Looks like he's going to be taking. Looks like only 2 tires on the left side and fuel, and down and away he'll be. But we come back up. Now we see actually the 5 machine of JD Crow leading for the first time tonight. So he's going to try and grab his bonus point here as we've shaken up the front of the field just a little bit.
Absolutely. Pit stops will do that. And you see the 5 trying to move low as most of these guys going to come down pit road, but we still got a few going to stay out. Robert Jordan in the back having trouble again with pit road. Look at him. Is that going to bring out the yellow?
I don't think so because he's not on the racing surface. So, yep, and he's going to take a tow anyway, get out of there, and not cause any too much more commotion. But yeah, unfortunate for that 74 machine. I would think that pretty much puts a nail in the coffin for his night. But who knows? Maybe if we get a couple yells at the end of it, he can still stay in it and try to get things done. But just about everyone in the field here, up save maybe 4 or 5 cars, getting their service this time by, and we'll see where they ends out.
Absolutely. We saw a couple of trucks overshoot their stalls a little bit. And look at the 90. He's going to lose a lot of time there. But one driver that I'm really looking at is this 7. And look how far back he is coming off pit road. Definitely lost some time. But look at this 3-car pack of Dean Wilkinson. You talked about it, that they could make up a lot of time being in a pack of 3. And here they go, shooting past the field here. Boomer, I think they're easily going to be able to lead this pack, but we do still have a couple guys out and coming down pit road here, and it looks like this is the rest of our drivers. But I've got to change our focus right here because this is going to be the battle to see where they can shake out toward the lead here.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it
shooting the
back.
middle.
Wow, shoot in the middle there. Look at there. The 55 is going to get back out there, at least to the outside lane. He's going to be able to join this pack, obviously, and not going to quite get to the front all the way, but definitely make some great effort to get back to where he was in the field. So that was definitely a great job by him and that O2 machine pushing him.
Absolutely wonderful, splendid job. And, you know, Boomer, I talk about this all the time. Is it not amazing in this sport of super speedway racing how these guys can pit on different laps with different amounts of cars with more or less draft help, but at the end of the day, they can all just perfectly blend together. Like, look at these guys coming out. Just going to blend right into the pack like they didn't miss a beat. Almost even to the exact positions they were in.
Yeah, definitely. You see Gael Brooks there able to grab the back of the pack and stay in there with the rest of those guys. Looks like he put it there with Jay Hillard. Just the two of them. Actually, no, I take it back. Randy Miner and Bud Steele also up there as well. So that whole group of 4 who pitted the very last was able to make it back into the pack pretty easily. They're going to have 2 more laps of fuel from everyone that pitted on lap number 39. So have to see if that does take into effect later in the race, but would not expect that here. Would expect them to have to make 1 more pit stop before the end of the race.
Absolutely. We're a little past halfway here. The action is hot. And Boomer, you know what we ought to do here while we've got a moment? Let's crank it up. Get those speakers up, folks, and listen to the roar of these engines as they come by. All right, seeing these truckers running through the field, definitely making a lot of ground, and Dean Wilkinson was there up front contending, and now look, back here in the back now riding, just shows how quickly these races change. But up front, still Kevin Freeze, but Vicente Guerrero got one of his best partners he's found this season. Vicente lost a lot of his teammates from last season, Boomer. I know you remember the team he had, but he's definitely found friends with that 0-2 of Seth Groover in a few races. And, ooh, getting a little squirrely there, but definitely.
That was a
go
big
ahead.
push.
Yes, but definitely they find speed when they're together. Watch for them to quickly recover and see if this duo can maybe take the lead of this race and control it.
Yeah, we'll see. They're definitely working hard on the outside. Obviously, Seth Groover, I don't think I've ever actually seen him working a race on the inside lane. He always likes to be out there trying to make moves, trying to make stuff happen. So obviously pushing the heck out of that 14 machine, trying to get to the front, doing all that he can. And yeah, we'll see if they can actually get clear, if the 14 will actually jump down by himself, or perhaps they'll try and wait to get both trucks cleared so they can jump down to the bottom. But for now, working well together on that outside lane.
Absolutely working well together, but you know, seeing that Groover name out here, Boomer, I can't remember if you were here the season he was, but a lot of races, and those two would always find a way to the front and always find tons of speed. I never saw two drivers be able to go to the back to the front so quick, and you know, they used to give a lot of TW Motorsports and Team Bootknocker a run for their money sometimes, but seem to always get wrapped up in incidents. But since Seth's brother no longer runs over here in Area 51, Seth's kind of had to learn how to make friends, and I'll tell you what, I think it's made him a pretty fast driver. But look here, we see Eric Lurie in that 071. He wants to kind of drop to the back. I wonder if he's looking at a fuel number here as we're soon to approach lap 50 here in just a couple laps.
Yeah, fuel number, or perhaps getting hot potentially too, just trying to air out that nose and try to get some clean air to it to cool it down. Not sure, but either way, jumping to the back of the pack and just gonna kind of ride around for a little bit. But we still see that 14 and that 02 working hard on that outside lane, the number 25 and that one machine working on that inside lane. I don't think that 25 and the one machine have really moved from those positions pretty much all race. Obviously, we've seen the one in front of the 25 for a fair amount at the beginning of the race, but I mean, those two guys right there have pretty much been locked nose to tail, especially with that two machine just behind them. Just nose to the grindstone, pushing as hard as they can and on that inside lane and trying to make progress. And they've really been able to control most of the race so far tonight.
Absolutely, they've been dominant here. Team Bootknocker 1, 2, 3 on the bottom lane there, just trying to control this pack, and yet you got everybody behind them scratching their heads saying, what do we have to do to get past them? Because all the moving and shaking around we've seen, but yet we've got guys that just haven't been able to make too many moves. But speaking of making the moves, looks like someone out there in that outside lane is definitely trying to get to the front, and that would be Richard Sanchez there in the 510, working with J.D. Crow and Gary Jenkins. That's some good company there, isn't it, Boomer?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely always good to have teammates out there for the TW guys and the Team Bootknocker guys coming to the front. They've both been pretty quiet, that 510 and the 5 machine so far this season. Obviously, Richard Sanchez able to grab a win last season. I don't quite know if he was able to grab on this one or not, but definitely don't count him out. He's one of the guys that typically runs around the back of the pack at the beginning of the race, but has found his way to the front towards the end and where it counts. And obviously now that we're about at the 2/3 mark of this race, that's the time to really be starting to get towards the front.
Absolutely. Got to start getting your truck placed where you want it, because these final pit stops are going to be massive here in the next 9 laps. And these final pit stops are also where we'll see a lot of strategy, because you got to think these drivers have prepared probably all race long, trying to go as long as they can to save for green-white checkers. You just never know when you're going to get them. But a big push from the 5 of J.D. Crow gets that 510 to clear 2 lanes. Looks like he's on the interstate there coming down in front of those guys. And he's going to get in front of Kevin Freeze and try to be the upset driver, not in the playoffs, getting up front.
Yeah, that looks like the guy in the left lane who realizes that his exit's in half a mile and he needs to get all the way over to the right lane and exit the highway. But that was a aggressive move by that 510, and now he's going to be there in front of that 25 and the one machine to really control the race from the front there. And we'll see. I would assume that the 14 and the 02 are probably going to stay pretty loyal to each other, trying to get up to the front maybe together. But now they've got one more truck to get ahead of in that 510 now as they've lost a little bit of momentum. But that kind of also leaves that 5 machine kind of out to dry just a little bit. I mean, obviously he's got the 90 of Gary Jenkins helping him just a little bit, but not quite as much steam in that outside lane now that 510 made that move. But that was a great move. I mean, aggressive for sure, but sometimes that's what it takes to win these races.
Absolutely aggressive for sure. And now he's got Team Bootknocker kind of locked into that bottom lane. But here comes Vicente. He says these guys are locked down. Here's my chance. But a big move getting made by the 59 of Jay Hilliard in some different colors tonight. And it looks like that big move's not going to go well. Looks like he's going to get shuffled out to that third lane. And these drivers, you starting to see the aggression level come up, Boomer. Kind of weaving around, pushing guys up the lanes. Not showing a lot of give and take here at this point in the race. You can only imagine it's going to get worse and worse as we get toward the end.
Yeah, we talked about that. That scaling factor of aggression. It's going to continue to ramp up as that race goes on, and we're still not all the way to the top of that yet, but it's definitely getting more crazy out there as the laps count down. So try to take a second here to update the points as they run right now. We've got. Excuse me 1 second here. So it still has enough for Kevin Freese to win the championship. He is currently 18 points ahead of his teammate in Gabe Butler. He's currently 19 points ahead of Vicente Guerrero and 30 points ahead of Dean Wilkinson. So still not much has changed, but obviously Gabe Butler and Vicente Guerrero are still very, very close for that second place battle, and still something to be said for trying to finish second in the points championship. So we'll see how those guys can stack that out. Obviously Vicente there sitting and the outside lane has a better shot being that first car leading that line versus the one being the third car leading that line. But we'll have to wait and see. And as long as that 25 machine can stay up where he is, I think that's going to keep that championship locked where it is, but still have to fight for second, third, and fourth in the championship.
Absolutely. Second through fourth was just between 1 point. So the battle for second is alive and well, and we really won't know who that victor is till the last lap. But Kevin, I think as long as he finishes here in the top 10, going to be able to lock this championship up fairly easy, and that's going to be real nice for him because as we update the field, we talked about Jimmy Crow there being out of the race. James Mohan in the 7 is now out, and Robert Jordan with his unfortunate pit road entries, 2 different ones went bad, finds himself 2 laps down. Now, he's the only truck a lap down, so if we start getting cautions, he can get the lucky dogs and get those back, but as we come to only 23 to go, looks like the worst Kevin Freese could finish as of right now would be in that 17th position, so that actually helps with the points lead he came in with. He came in with a 16-point lead, so not quite cushioned yet, but definitely could, if he could get a couple more bonus points, could definitely be in the catbird seat. But don't forget there's 3 bonus points for finishing clean, so this race is far from over for the championship.
Yeah, definitely. And so far, I don't see anybody with any incident points. There's so that's definitely boding well for all these drivers here tonight, and definitely going to see.
Oh, big move!
Oh no! They say that we got some caution.
Are they going to wreck?
Are they going to wreck? Contact. Yep, there is going to be a yellow there. Wow. So as soon as I say that, that throws the yellow. It looks like everybody was rolling well, but it was just enough to kind of scare everybody. And yeah, I don't think a lot of damage from that wreck, but that was still something to to scare you a little bit.
Absolutely. That was a big move got made and definitely caused some issues. So while we've got the time, let's see if we can go back and see what happened here. And I already know we're going to catch it a little late, so let's kind of come back here and see if we can get a good camera view. We're going to watch from this 02 of Seth Groover and see if we can get a good zoomed in camera here to kind of watch this at quarter speed. Talk us through it, Boomer.
Yeah, so he's on that outside line there. Looks like he just gets a good shove from the 5 into the corner and collects it, but the 14 kind of gets a push from behind from the 59 as well, and he gets a little bit sideways. Maybe the 14 checking up just a little bit there to not wreck the 0-2, but for the most part, yeah, the 2 they're getting a little bit of contact, unfortunately, and looked like he was for the most part able to save that and keep going. But I think the one who's actually got the most damage from this incident is probably the 14 truck. Unfortunately, Vicente Guerrero saw a little bit of crinkle in that left front bumper, so he might have to take his fast repair here with still a lot of laps left, unfortunately.
And Boomer, it almost looks like maybe that two's big slides went through the yellow. I mean, I don't really see going back. I mean, we can go back and watch one more time, but I don't see where a truck went completely around unless it was after the fact here. But we can try to watch here and see what happened with some of these front runners. But looks to me like everybody kind of kept it straight.
Yeah.
So are you surprised iRacing might have thrown that yellow there?
You know, I think that might have even been a maybe an admin thrown caution to be my guess, and I think that's the right call for sure. You know, you don't always know what's going to happen. You know, and you'd hate for someone to lose the draft because of it, especially you know, in a championship race like this. But I think erring to the side of caution is good. Obviously, you want to try and keep you know, how you throw the cautions consistent, but I think that was a good call if it was an admin thrown caution. And yeah, something interesting you see here. It looks like JD Crow stayed out by himself. I don't know if he's just trying to lead a lap for a bonus point, or and if he's going to come in this next time around, or if he's trying some fuel strategy here. But it's been about 17 laps since he last pitted.
Absolutely, some strategies going on, but with 21 to go, we're going to take a short break here under this yellow flag and see if we can figure out all these fuel strategies, and when we come back, we'll get you caught up. You're watching Green White Checker TV and the Thursday Area 51 Super Speedway Truck Series. We'll be back. All right, back here with 20 laps to go. 1 to go is out, and you're probably wondering why these trucks are single file. The majority of the field here decided it was good to come on down with 1 to go and top off with fuel because, Boomer, look at this. We only have 20 laps to go, right on the fuel number.
Yeah, definitely going to be close for these guys. I think that caution came out at a perfect time. Obviously, it might be a little bit of a stretch towards the end of the fuel run for them, but it's going to be interesting to see. I think, I think everyone's just about going to be able to make it, and especially if there's more yellows, everyone who just pitted is definitely going to have a chance to make it to the end of the race. And saw a lot of guys come down that second time just to grab that one extra lap of fuel, one extra lap of security.
Absolutely. So as we get ready to reset it here, we see the 5-10 of Richard Sanchez in the lead, but still in second. Vicente Guerrero third, but fourth on back, definitely stopped to get fuel. So who's going to make it here? Who's going to get the win tonight? We're about to find out as the pace car is in and the green flag is back out, coming to 19 laps to go. The 5-10 gets a good jump, but Bud Steele being on the outside, he's all by himself. But here comes Kevin Freese and Robert DuPont to try to work with him going into turn 1.
Yeah, they're starting to get settled here. Looks like we got a 3-wide battle for that lead as everyone just kind of tries to figure out where they need to be. But 6 in the 25 machine are definitely pushing really hard to try to get to that front, and they are going to tuck all the way down to the inside lane.
Absolutely. Here they are battling, and the 5-10 losing a ton of spots there on the start. But the 6, we were worried about him, but here he is coming out on top with Kevin Freese pushing behind. The 6 of Bud Steele not had a very good season so far, been in a lot of different incidences, but here coming to 18 laps to go, finds himself out in the wind leading this pack of trucks. So definitely the guys not in the playoffs starting to make a big impact here, Boomer, as we go into the final laps of this one.
Yeah, for sure. And something we saw there was Vicente Guerrero was not checking up a little bit, but he has a little bit of damage there on that left front fender that I mentioned earlier, and seems like it's affecting him just a little bit. Looks like the one truck might actually have a little bit of damage on that front bumper as well, but it's affected them enough to not be, Gabe Butler doesn't have damage, just Vicente, but it was enough for him to kind of start to slide back when he was leading that middle lane. So if he doesn't have another opportunity here, he did save that fast repair. But if he doesn't have an opportunity to take it, then that might be something that he might have to deal with for the rest of this race.
Absolutely. A lot of things about to happen here. Seeing these truckers 3 wide. Brian Wang in that incident was the guy kind of getting loose and spinning. But here he is with a big recovery on the outside lane, working with 2 teammates in Gary Jenkins and J.D. Crow. But the 55 back there with his TW Motorsports guys, you got to believe, now that we've had 1 yellow, that they might think we'll have another one with just 17 laps to go. Coming to 16 to go, I don't know if these guys are going to race nice or if it's going to be all gloves off here as we get to the end of this. But we know Vicente's right here in this middle lane pushing Gabe. And we know how aggressive he's been toward the end of these races. He is looking for his first win of the season right here in the last race, and he's also in the championship hunt. So the question remains here, what would a guy do for a championship? And no, I'm not saying any intentional wreck would happen, but what kind of big move would they be willing to make, knowing that there could be consequences, but you got to do what you got to do when racing for a championship.
I mean, I think wasn't it Tony Stewart that said, he would wreck that reporter's mother to win a championship, and then he said he'd wreck his own mother. So, obviously, no one would want to try and do anything intentional, but when it comes down to winning a championship, I think it's going to make a big difference in what you will or will not do. But for now, obviously, that 25 machine's still hanging around that top 5. If anyone is going to be able to upset him, he's going to have to finish pretty much at the back of the pack right now, which as of right now would be 17th at the very worst, assuming that Robert Jordan was able to get back on the lead lap. So still a very comfortable lead for that 25 machine, but Gabe Butler is still trying to secure that second place in that championship standing so far. Just barely leading the rest of the best of the rest, I should say, just ahead of Vicente Guerrero and Dean Wilkinson in the points right now.
And if you want to know how intense the racing is here tonight, folks, from first back to 16th, only 0.8 of a second separates them. So definitely a lot of racing going on here right now, which means one wrong move, and a playoff driver could go from hero to zero, or vice versa. As we're coming to 14 laps to go, coming out of turn 4, 3x3. Boomer, I don't think we see racing outside of 3 wide for the rest of this race. I don't know why we would go back to 2 wide racing coming to the end of this. So we should have an action-packed race all the way to the checkered flag, it seems.
Yeah, so we'll see, but I definitely would agree with that. You might even see someone try to make it 4 wide. I don't think there's a lot of urgency to try and win that championship because that 25 machine is still nestled there in that top 3 now once again. So I think the urgency is really just going to be from somebody who really wants to win this race. Obviously, whether you had a great season or a bad season, winning that final race can either continue that momentum or shift that momentum into next season, and you can end on a high note. So even though we mentioned, obviously, these guys are going to be respectful to the guys in the playoffs, but at some point, you got to do what you got to do, and winning a race is always a top priority.
Top priority indeed. And, you talk about this 25 being nestled in this spot. Boomer, you've been doing the IndyCar side of things. Let me tell you, I've seen this 25 in this spot almost every race, and the majority of them he finishes, but I've watched 2 of them in particular that coming through the tri-oval, he has been spun out and finished tail end of the lead lap. So when I say anything can happen, I'm putting nothing past the finish of this race. And, with 13 laps to go, it seems like we're right here at the end, but Boomer, and even coming out of turn 4, it's still too early to call it at Talladega, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. There's a lot of room left on the track, especially even out of 4. You've got to go through the entire the dog leg off of 4 through the tri-oval and then into the dog leg into turn number 1, that short chute there. Obviously different than Daytona. You kind of have to plan that strategy a little bit different, and just because you get a great run off of 4 doesn't mean that you're going to be able to carry it all the way to the start-finish line because of that unique location here at Talladega.
Absolutely. Changes everything. When we race at Daytona, coming out of turn 4, you've pretty well just got a few feet to make it work, but here at Talladega, it feels like a whole nother mile coming out of turn 4 that you've got to try to get to that checkered flag, and you can be leading in that tri-oval and lose it all on that short chute, but these guys are not losing anything here tonight. 3x3 for the lead, for the second or 4th spot, for 7th spot. Like, they're all 3x3 there, and I'm really impressed with this outside lane. They've got the fewest amount of trucks, yet they seem to be making a lot of momentum up there. But we've heard these truckers talk a couple weeks here at Talladega toward the end of the season about how heat was becoming a big deal on the track and that they couldn't push like they want to, not only because of engine temps, but also because the truck is just really squirrely in these hot conditions that they're just kind of holding on to them. I haven't seen too many trucks out of control, but Boomer, we saw 1 or 2 that really got squirrely in the middle of the pack, and I would think toward the end of this race you're going to push as hard as you possibly can, and that's really going to upset some of these trucks.
Right, for sure. And another thing to think about is tires too, because obviously Talladega is a little bit of a newer surface than Daytona, a little bit more wear at Daytona, but there still is a little bit of fall off in tire, and you can get a little bit more squirrely as the run goes on without having that that fresh rubber for traction. But something just to think about. And obviously people are going to be trying to make more aggressive moves. Obviously everyone in iRacing playing with their steering boxes to try and get that good feeling of how sensitive or how loose you want that steering to feel to be able to make those moves that you want to make. But definitely expect that it's going to get a little more antsy the further this run goes along. Obviously, we're probably approaching more of a hot barbecue or a Thai curry situation on our Buffalo Wild Wings sauces and spices chart there.
Absolutely, we're moving on up the chart. For sure, this race definitely getting spicy here as we have 10 to go, but we're coming out of turn 4, and just like that, 9 to go. And I want to point out something to you here, Boomer. We talked about it, right? Hangs out most of the race, and the position only shows 13th, but in the pack, look where he is. Gael Brooks there in that 71 truck. He's just got himself positioned here on this bottom lane. And honestly, I think if we get one more yellow, he's going to put himself in prime position to try to get a top 5 out of the night. But right now, just boxed in with nowhere to go.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what Guile has in store. Obviously, just kind of playing it safe and just riding it there just towards the back of that main pack. But got to get up there, got to jump in that action if you really want to make something happen. And obviously that 90 and the 2 machine now leading that outside lane, making it work on the high side and try to take away the advantage of this race. But yeah, it's definitely going to come down to who can lead at the line. Obviously, I know it sounds silly, but the race leader can actually change between these 3 lanes 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 times a lap, and you really want to make sure that you can get that run and time it well so that you are the leader at the start finish line right there and nowhere else on the track, because that's obviously at the end of the day that's what's going to matter most.
Absolutely, as we're just under 8 laps to go. Question for you here, Boomer. If you're that 25, you're in position where you can get one more win on the season. You want to win that championship in dominating fashion, but do you think in his position, if you're Kevin Freese, are you going to try to still make a move with 1 lap to go for the win, and whatever happens, happens? Or are you content to just ride here on the bottom? Because honestly, if he rides on the bottom too much, it'd be real easy to get shuffled to the back if this outside lane really started making some moves.
Yeah, we'll have to see. He's got to drop back quite a ways before he really is out of the standings there and out of position for the championship. But he's only the 2nd truck in that inside lane. I say you take you take what you've earned so far tonight and you don't go for any more. You don't need to be up front at this point. Obviously, we mentioned at the beginning of the race that, I would say he would want to be there trying to contend for the win. He's done that all night long. He's put himself in the position, but I don't think it's worth that extra risk at the end of the race to wreck yourself just trying to win the championship. So I think for him, his sole focus is just to stay right where he is and do what he's done all night long. Maybe won't win him the race, but if he's not aggressive, I think he's got a chance to pretty well seal this championship up. Probably, I'd say maybe about a 90% chance right now.
Absolutely, and we see these trucks rocking through the front stretch. We saw the 510 have to come to pit road. Remember, he did stay out there, so fuel, a big concern. You think some of these drivers were thinking there would be another yellow to get them fuel the rest of the way? I feel like there's 1 or 2 out here in the field that's going to have to pit pretty soon if that 510 already had to come on down.
Yeah, we'll see. I think the last one to pit on lap 56 was Robert Jordan, so he's the one who has the least amount of fuel, or had the least amount of fuel at the green flag. Obviously now Bud Steele and Gabe Butler and now Gary Jenkins, who have been leading these lines lately, are probably the ones who are the worst off on fuel, but it'll be interesting to see if anyone isn't close enough. I would think that someone would be willing to duck out of line by now. As we approach 5 laps to go here, they'd probably be looking to duck out of line to save a little bit more fuel if they were concerned. So I would assume that there's no concerns at the front, or maybe they're just trying to stay up there and lead as much as they can until they do run out. But I have to wait and see, but there's 5 more laps of action left in this race.
Just 5 more to go, and the concern I have is that 6 of Bud Steele. Remember, he restarted 2nd in that outside lane, and he's been out here leading this pack, and he's got 1 less lap of fuel than everyone else. So that will definitely be something to watch. We know they pitted right at the 20 lap to go mark. Maybe Bud's got enough, but he has been leading this line, so that's something we're definitely going to have to watch coming into this. But we talked about it, the 3x3 not stopping, but that outside lane getting a big push as they go through turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, but you see now the momentum there shifts back to that inside lane, and now the 6 machine is in the lead, but that 90 is going to try and surge once again. We'll see who's going to lead it this time at the stripe. Looks like it is going to be the 6 machine of Bud Steele, so he is hoping to stay on that inside line and keep that working. Obviously the most energy down there because they have the most cars or trucks in that line, but definitely more of a surge that you saw from the 90 and the 2 machine as they're able to get hooked up. They are able to push pretty hard, and I would expect to see them make a bit of a run as they get towards the end of the race here. Once that 2 machine knows that he can make it to the end without having to get clean air on that nose to cool down that engine, I think he's just going to push as hard as he possibly can to try and get that 90 machine clear and try to get him pushed to the win. And I think everybody else in, Vicente Guerrero sitting in that 2nd spot in the middle lane behind Gabe Butler and that 25 truck behind the 6 of Bud Steele are all probably thinking the same thing. Get to the point where I can push without worrying about overheating and then go like hell.
Absolutely, and just 3 laps to go. We see Kyle Brooks in the back move it to the middle lane. He thinks it's going to have the momentum, just trying to find somewhere to go. Some of these guys in the back going to get impatient, and I think your first guy that's going to get impatient is that 14 of Vicente. He's going to want to make a move, and he'll be the guy to try to make it 4 wide if he has to make a move. But you know, something we noticed, the sun just now coming back out. We had some cloud cover for a lap or two, wondering if that got the ambient temperature just cool enough to get some of these truckers ready for a big push here at the end, or to give them some of the grip they needed. But as we get closer to the end, still going to watch that 6 to see if he's got enough fuel to go. It's going to be close.
Yeah, that 6 machine's definitely got the most momentum on that inside line. He's completely clear of that 1 machine as he gets to the stripe this time by. But yeah, like you mentioned, it's 71 degrees in the air and 83 on track, so fairly cool here at Talladega Superspeedway. Definitely a bit of a cooler breeze as we get into fall here.
Absolutely, and you know, him pitting on lap 57 versus 58, those other guys pitted right with 20 to go. Bud had 21 to go when he pitted, and he's been out front this whole time, so watch for that fuel tank to possibly stutter. We're going to have to watch this all the way to the end, but down the backstretch, these guys have not left 3x3x3, and definitely seeing a lot more movement here, Boomer, as we come through 3 and 4. We're getting ready to take the white flag lap and see who wins this race, and not only that, but the championship, and one more time around this circuit.
Yeah, you see Gabe Butler now has a lot more momentum. He's even with the 6 machine, so that middle lane definitely has a better push. That 90 and the 2 truck are going to try and get that outside lane working, and as they are just about even all the way across into turn number 1 and through turn number 2, but that 1 machine definitely has a shot. That 6 machine is definitely going to be pushed pretty hard, but that 25 machine behind him, and we're going to have a race down the backstretch and back to the start-finish line for the win.
I have no clue who's going to win this race, but these guys rocking down, and what a great camera view to see these guys run into turn 3 for the last time this race and this season. They are going hard. Who is going to win it here?
A little bit of action back in the pack, but we still stay green, and they still stay single file or triple file and straight as an arrow.
Coming through the tri-oval, side by side, it looks like it's going to be enough fuel, but we got to get to the short chute. Who's it going to be? Bud Steele picking up the victory and a crash to end the race here. And I got to say, with a 3rd place finish, it's going to be safe to say that Kevin Fries is going to be your Area 51 Super Speedway Truck Series champion this season.
Wow, what a great finish. Love to see that effort by the 6 machine. Obviously, I think he'll be thanking that 25 machine in his post-race interview, because that 25 of Kevin Fries absolutely got him that opportunity. Great to see it. And, you know, we mentioned Kevin just trying to get there to the end, pushing as hard as he can, gave that 6 the opportunity to win, and sealed that championship for himself. So I think we can say for certain, without even looking at bonus points, that will be a championship for Kevin Fries this season. Hard earned for sure.
Absolutely. Let's go back to the white flag lap and see if we can just watch this one more time as I try to get us to full speed here. See if we can get just a good view of some of these battles. Let's see which one we can really get. I'm going to have to go with this chopper view for a moment just so we can see these big runs that were made here on the last lap to get Bud Steele that victory. Talk us through this backstretch, Boomer. See what you saw here.
Yeah, definitely. It was, it was great to see that all 3 lines are really getting some of the action there, the ability, the 90 machine pulling even with the 1, and you see as they get into the corner, the inside lane with the shortest distance around the track definitely had enough momentum there, and they got a little bit broken up on that outside lane with the 55 making a little bit of a move there, getting a little bit loose, the 02 getting loose there, the 1 machine trying to get a little bit of a side draft on the 6, but not quite enough momentum there. That 25 is absolutely locked on to the back of that 6 machine, as you can see. The 14 ducking out, abandoning the 1. He had no chance to get past him, and the 6 machine able to grab his first victory of the season.
Absolutely, and we slowed it down here for the back so we could see what happened with these guys so we could try to catch it. Let's rewind here just a moment so we can catch your last incident of the season. Don't believe TV2 is going to do it for us. We're going to try TV3 here, see what we can see as we go quarter speed. And, man, just a bad push by the 510. and a championship contender throughout these playoffs, just not ending the night like he hoped for. And big contact for Seth Groover
Woo!
going into the air, and just a lot of trucks flying here.
Yeah, I hope to see him have an opportunity to clear the infield care center. That was a wild ride by that O2 machine for sure.
And I do have to see before we get interviews going. Dean Wilkinson had crossed the line, but I don't know how this wreck starts in the back and makes it to the front. So let's see what happened to Dean here coming to the line. Maybe a separate incident. You see the first one down here on the bottom of our screen, and wow, maybe just a bad push from JD Crow and an incident-free race going out the window there, since not all the drivers had crossed just yet, and those points were still going to count. So definitely a 4X there for Dean after having a good, clean race all race long.
Yeah, unfortunate for sure. But yeah, it sounds like we've got a few interviews to get to, so I'm excited for this top three and our championship winner tonight. So it's going to be it was definitely a lot of action to unpack, and I'm looking forward to talk to some of the drivers.
Absolutely. And Gail Brooks is in the booth with us. And Gail, do you think it would be smart of us to maybe start with second place, talk to our race winner, and then bring third place in, since we're pretty sure he's going to be our champion?
I like the going out of order there. Yeah, I think we start with our runner up and then race winner, and then yeah, get to our season champion. But man, what a race! I decided to be patient, save fuel, thinking that all right, there might be something happen, but nope. they went start to finish there on that last run. So great job by all those guys. But yeah, I'm pumped for Bud Steele. He did a good job and made the fuel work. I was skeptical he could do it. So yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm gonna let you guys take over the show here, and yeah, let you get these top three, including our championship winner tonight.
All right, let's go ahead and bring up our second place finisher here tonight, and that will be the one of Gabe Butler. So Gabe came home in second place. Not probably the night you wanted, just couldn't shuffle Kevin Freeze out there, but definitely a strong run in this truck tonight. Tell us about your race and maybe what your strategy was, because you were quite a few points behind that 25. You kind of needed him to have some bad luck, I think, for a repeat championship.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, there was very little doubt as to who was going to be the champion this year, and he fully deserved it. I mean, him and Brian came in there and spanked everybody in the second half of the season, so it's totally deserved. But um, we were just trying to, you know, secure P2 if at all possible. I knew we weren't going to catch him, so we ended up doing that. It was a really good race. We pitted really well. Everybody pitted really well. Nobody could get a breakaway, and so we just ran it out from there. I knew I had to finish ahead of at least Vicente anyway, and keep the truck clean and get those bonus points, and it worked out.
Yeah, Gabe, definitely looked like at one point, maybe under that first green flag cycle, you guys almost had a chance to break away, maybe by about a second, and everyone just about caught back up to you. And for the most part, under every other green flag pit cycle, you really weren't able to break away. But were you hoping at some point, because it did stay so green for so long, were you hoping to try and break away, and maybe help and keep some people off the pack and try to stay in that front pack? Or what were you trying to, was there any pit strategy there with that?
Yeah, we were trying to do that, but then that caution came out, so we're kind of looking at that last pit, hopefully green flag pit stop, but that never occurred. So that would have been our last chance there. And then with the caution, and so everybody was good in fuel after that. So we kind of left to battle it out three wide for the last 20 laps there.
Absolutely. And Gabe, that race, you talk about the battle at the end, 3x3x3 for 19 laps straight. I mean, are you surprised that y'all didn't have another yellow? But, I mean, I know you guys run really hard, but to be that close around so many trucks and such hard pushing, for y'all to go those 19 solid laps, that was a pretty big feat, and just shows just how good some of these truckers are in this league.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, and these, yourself, these trucks are really subject to that bumper hook, and these guys really know how to push in these things. So I'm not surprised at all that we were able to run that long, and we normally do. So we got great drivers in this league, and hopefully we can get some more in here and add to the talent.
Absolutely. Well, Gabe, you're going to come home tonight the same amount of points you were coming in, 13 behind Kevin Freeze. And I know it's not the championship you wanted, but you had an awesome second place run here tonight. Second place in the championship, a successful season. So for this season, I'm going to give you the floor one last time for any thanks and shout outs you might have, not only for the race finish here tonight, but just for the season you had.
I want to thank Area 51 for putting this on. It has been a great season. And of course, congratulations to Kevin on the championship. Fully deserved. And a big shout out to the rest of the Boot Knocker teammates. I mean, it's a big team effort here every night. And we've got a pretty good record here at Area 51, the Super Speedways. And of course, Green White Checker TV, you guys do an awesome job. Probably the best broadcasters out there, just the best analysis hands down. So looking forward to looking at this one later on again.
Absolutely. Well, Gabe, congratulations on the second place finish. I know how big of a competitor you are, being teammates with you a few seasons ago. So I know you're going to be going back to the drawing board and seeing how you can get that number one to be back in the number one spot next season. So good season, good run. Go celebrate with your team. And I'd say we'd holler at you next race, but we're going to holler at you next season. So have a good one, Gabe. Great job tonight.
All right, fellas. I appreciate it. Have a good evening.
All right. That was our second place finisher. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk to our race winner here. And that will be the 6 of Bud Steele. Bud, you had such a great run here tonight. Kind of just took your time for the most part and then made it up here right at the end. And once you stayed out on that last, when everybody else pitted with one to go, you kind of stayed out and took a little bit of a risk on fuel, especially leading all those last laps you did. But it turned out to be good. So talk us through your race. Kind of tell us how it went for you, Bud.
Well, I was just trying to be careful and get to the end. And to me, I think it was going to be, come down to track position. And so that's pretty much why I stayed out there at the end. And thank you, Kevin Freese, for that push and sticking with me. And I know he was maybe a little scared that I was going to run out of fuel on that last lap, but kind of knew what could get, running full throttle all the way. And it got me that last lap and half lap to spare.
Yeah, that was awesome. A great move to the bottom there after the restart, Bud, and you were able to really, control the rest of the race from there, obviously with the 25 pushing you. Did you expect to have somebody in the middle or the outside lane get a good enough run to kind of duck in front of you? Or I assume you were hoping that you were going to be able to lead that line for the rest of the race?
Well, I figured if Kevin was going to push me, that I don't think anyone was going to get by. I know I tried the third lane a couple times tonight, and it was a bit difficult to get clear. I think one person got clear and made a successful pass from the top. And but no, I thought we were in good shape as long as Kevin stuck with me, and I appreciate that he did.
Bud, you talk about how the outside lane was a little bit difficult here tonight. We're not used to saying this in these trucks, but it really did look like it was difficult to pass out there tonight. What do you think maybe contributed to that? I mean, we're used to these truckers passing and swapping positions all the time, but once we got 3x3, it was kind of like where you were at was where you were going to be unless someone wrecked or something bad happened. So how was passing kind of at a premium here tonight?
Well, yeah, something happened. I don't know if it was an update to the truck or what. happened, towards the beginning of the season is when I started noticing that that outside lane just didn't move the way that it used to. So I gave it a shot. I mean, we were up there with 3 good trucks, and it was tough, and just instead of just wasting a lot of time and fuel up there, I mean, I went ahead and backed out and went back to the back and rode a little bit and tried to save that fuel back. But I think it's something might have to look at.
Absolutely. Well, Bud, we won't keep you here any longer. You're our race winner for the last race of the season. And, Bud, you put yourself in elite company for a season dominated by Gabe Butler and Kevin Freeze as far as race victories go, not to mention Brian Wang. 3 of the toughest competitors out there in the field. You have gotten up there as the wily veteran of Area 51 and got that super speedway victory here tonight. So before we let you go, I want to give you a chance for any thanks and shout outs you might have for this victory here tonight and just for the season you've had this season.
Well, just thanks again to Kevin, and congrats to him on the championship. All the teams that are in here, the Bootenknockers, TW, all a great bunch of guys to race with, and they all did just a great job tonight. And want to thank Green and White Checker TV, of course, and my beautiful wife Catherine, and we'll try to regroup and have a better season next season.
Absolutely. Well, Bud, ending it here on top. Hopefully next season we see you right back here where you left off in victory lane, but we're going to let you go celebrate with your team. So great season. Be one of the few drivers to actually get a victory here in the season, and definitely looking forward to seeing what you can do next time. So go celebrate with your team, and we'll holler at you later.
All right. Thanks, Maxwell. Y'all take care.
All right, that is your winner here tonight. But outside of our normal routine here, we're going to go and talk to now our third place finisher here tonight, because there's a special reason that we've got to talk to him. And that's because he is our Area 51 Super Speedway Truck Series champion. It is Kevin Freeze. Kevin, you started the season with a goal. You started this season wanting to be extremely competitive, and right out the gate, you showed us that you were going to be a weapon to deal with each and every race. The playoffs hit, reset all the points, yet you put together 4 beautiful races. And for someone to have a 13-point gap ending the season over Gabe Butler, I would say no matter what position in the points you were in, that would be successful. But to come out on top by that much, truly amazing. So first off, though, tell us about your race and kind of how that went for you there.
Yeah, I thank you. It was interesting tonight. I wanted to stay up front as much as I could. I was leading a lot in that first segment, and then Gabe got in front of me. So then I was working on pushing him, but the one factor tonight was the track temperature was pretty high, so you really had to manage your temperatures a whole lot on that whole last run. I went in on that restart. I saw Bud was up there alone, and because everybody else came in to top off, so I was like, yeah, I don't want to be that guy all alone up there. So I got him to the lead, and from that point on, I had an opportunity to pull out, but I wanted to see if I could keep Bud up there because he deserved a good finish.
Yeah, definitely. I know after that last pit cycle under yellow there, we mentioned we talked a little bit about your strategy, where you were sitting, and wondering if you would go for that win, but we took an assumption that you've put in the work to control the race for most of the night to win that championship, and assumed that you would be in a position where you would just kind of lay low and see what you could do to push the 6 to a win. And Obviously, that still has to feel good. Obviously, still finishing the season out with a championship has got to feel great, but a little bit of a consolation prize in getting Bud Steele that win, so that's got to feel good as well to add on to that championship celebration tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Gabe told me when he was coming up on the outside, he's like, "You can pop up if you want." I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'm gonna stay down here." I just like pushing these trucks, especially because it is quite difficult to stay connected the way you really want to. So I and getting Bud a win. I mean, I've raced with him for a number of seasons now, and it's nice to get people wins when he put himself in position to get it. So I was going to help him.
Absolutely, and looking good out there. And you talked about wanting to be up front most of the race, yet you found yourself kind of always being the pusher. It seemed like Gabe tried to get in front of you, maybe to get those most laps led. Were you two really trying to work together most of the race? Did you want him in front of you, or did he just kind of sneak up there in Gabe Butler fashion, trying to get those most laps led? I mean, it seemed like a lot of guys were really trying to do whatever they could to get around you tonight.
Yeah, like I was mindful of the situation he was in, and I wanted to help him absolutely as much as I could because it was quite a gap to where I was. And I think we both realized that going into tonight. So my goal, just like it was this past Sunday, was to work with Gabe and try and make sure that as much as we could control, like safely, not trying to play games, but I'm going to work with him as much as I can to make sure that he gets the best finish possible. If he was able to get that point bonus, I don't know if he was.
Absolutely. Well, hey, we've asked you about the race. We know you're excited about that third place finish, but most importantly, we got to talk to you about this championship you have won. So we've known you to be successful in Area 51, and Kevin, you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong, but is this your first Area 51
Second.
championship? Second. Did you do it in a Sunday series?
Yes. It was in Sunday when we were running the Gen 6 cars before they broke the draft the first time in those.
There you go. So what I'm going to do is we've got the boss man, the man, the myth, the legend, Guy Brooks up here, and Boomer Logan. I'm going to let them two kind of ask you a couple questions about your championship, and then I'll kind of wrap this up with you, Kevin, because I know me and you are buddies, and, unbiased here, I got to say I'm super happy for you. So, Gael, go ahead and take it away, and let's see what Kevin's got to say about this championship.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to quiz Kevin too hard because, I mean, he's had such an amazing season. So, I mean, obviously, first off, hats off to you on that one. But, I mean, you had to work, obviously, on this one a fair bit because, I mean, going into the season, you see Gabe win 5 off the bat. I mean, you were the one to break the streak. I mean, were you, like, saying, okay, Gabe's on his game? Or was it, all right, yeah, he's doing really well now, but I know it's all resetting coming to playoff time. I mean, what's the approachers? I know you guys race well, a lot together and you get along really well, but I mean, obviously we all have that little competitor in us. I mean, what was the thought?
The thought was go get my buddy Brian to come back and race, because with the way the team structures were, you had so many people in your room, and those guys were running. Gary, JD, Eric, and Gabe were all running in their room. I came back this season. So I didn't want to, they're running together. I'm going to let them be together in their room. But we ended up outnumbered sometimes. And you just want to be able to. So I was like, hey, Brian, how about you come back and race with me? And that was a significant turning point for this season, I think, because there were a couple of those races that Brian and I were able to, the one race with DuPont, the one race with Vicente, we were able to run away from people. And it's because I was with Brian, and Brian and I, we just nail our pit stops, just like Gabe will nail his pit stops, and Brian's the exact same way. And that I really think it changed a lot for the way my season was going.
Yeah, definitely. We saw a lot of Gabe Butler towards the beginning of the season, and as we got into the chase here, you were able to come out on top and win that championship. But other than getting into the playoffs, do you think you had like a single defining moment that changed the pace of the championship for you and led to your ultimately winning it here tonight?
I think I was just fortunate enough, and it goes with I try to you have to put yourself in a position that you can control as much as you can. You don't get the pit road penalty. You don't get caught up in something because you made a mistake on pit road entry, exit. I just wanted to stay up front in every single race. And I think that helped me. It's what helped me the first championship I won, because I may not have necessarily been leading the series in wins, but I had stacked up a whole bunch of consistent finishes. And that's the most important thing, is just maintaining the consistency and controlling what you can.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Kevin, amazing season. And I just got one more thing to ask you before I give you your chance at the spotlight here for thanks and shout outs. And that's a very, how do I want to word this? It's a very unbiased and unselfish question, but with the championship, we know what comes with that. I must ask, what are you going to buy me with all that money?
Well, I'm going to go spend it probably this weekend at Martinsville on a bunch of beer. So
there you go. Answer from
That
Kevin
is
Freeze
probably
there.
the right answer. That is, I love it. Have a great weekend at the race, man. That sounds fun.
oh yeah, I'm leaving probably in a half hour. So it'll be awesome.
So it sounds like I'm getting a 164 diecast from Martinsville. No, I'm just kidding. So, Kevin, you're a good buddy of mine. I can't wait to do this. I want to give you the floor for any thanks and shout-outs that you might have for this, not only third-place finish here tonight, but for your Area 51 Superspeedway Truck Series Championship. Take it away, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you to you guys for doing the work, the hard work of putting on the broadcast every single week and doing all of the behind the scenes stuff. I know Charles was a huge part in the beginning of the season. Then he had to rearrange some things about halfway through. But thank you to him, Gael, for stepping up, and Jim as well for all the work that he does for the league. These aren't easy things to run. But the biggest shout out is to the drivers. I mean, we had I think, a very clean season overall. There may have been a couple of races here and there where people got annoyed, but I think the on-track product this season was phenomenal. And thanks to all my teammates, obviously in super speedway racing, you need them, and they're very important. And without them running with you, staying with you, working together, and heck, having fun, just chatting in the Discord channel, none of this would be possible or even nearly as much fun.
Absolutely. Well, Kevin, speaking of those teammates, we want to let you go celebrate with them. It sounds like you got about 25 minutes before you're out of here, so I know you want to go give them some big thanks and congratulations on a good season. So we'll let you go, and looking forward to seeing you next season. You're going to come back and defend this title?
Absolutely.
That's what we like to hear. Kevin Freeze, your Super Speedway Area 51 Truck Series champion. All right, so as we kind of bring this broadcast to a close, what we'd like to do now is show you how these last 8 drivers ended up making it out here. So let me see if I can get your final championship standings here for you, at least for those top 8. And this is how they finished up. And again, I got in a rush. I'm going to be full disclosure. I forgot to change all the numbers around. So ignore the driver numbers. Last race fatigue, you could call it. But the points are updated, and this is how they did finish. Kevin Freeze ended with 1,157 points. 13 points back was Gabe Butler with 1,144 points. As we look at third place, Vicente Guerrero did lose a little ground tonight. It was hard to make any up on Kevin. No driver made a single point up on him, by the way. But Vicente comes home third in this championship battle, 19 points back. Dean Wilkinson kind of lost a spot. He was tied with Vicente. He's going to end up coming out fourth, 24 points back. J.D. Crow, we said it was going to take a miracle for him to kind of pull that off. It didn't happen. Ended up finishing behind him, 37 points back. Not a typical 4-race playoff for him. And then Jay Hilliard here, 40 points back. Robert Rock 44, and we know Robert Duvendak did not get to make all of these playoff races, 128 points back. So this is how your top 8 shook out. Boomer, I don't know that you would, unless you tuned in, if you knew too much about it, but Gaio, I can ask you going into this, did you expect this would be how our top 8 would finish out the season?
I mean, I would say these are pretty big heavy hitters. Obviously, I think the new addition was Robert Duveneck. I'm gutted that he wasn't able to finish up the season. I think he had a lot to go for him, especially just not having a big team surrounding him. But I'd say yeah, the Kevin, the Gabe, Vicente, and Dean. I'd say those 4 for sure. And then it's hard to say, honestly, because we have so many good drivers week in and week out. It's really just who gets the breaks in the season. So, but those 4 I definitely expected, and kind of JD as well. I won't lie. You expected JD to be up there with those guys. But then I think TW, I think they really did a great job stepping up this season, getting Jay Hilliard and Robert Rock both in as well. So, and I think they're only going to get better. Say they're bringing back one of their stablemates as well with number 45, Todd Siebel. So Todd's going to kind of help strengthen that team against more. And I would say expect to see him pretty much kind of jump back in right where he left off, because he was always a force to be reckoned with in these races.
Absolutely. And, we see how this lined up. Kevin Freeze, pretty well the dominant guy all season long. Gabe Butler trying to defend that title, came out the gate swinging. But Kevin Freeze just had the consistency to go after it and get it. Vicente, we talked about the speed he had all season long, just really couldn't get that race victory, and I think that kind of hurt him here toward the end. And Dean Wilkinson, he's pretty consistent but had a couple bad finishes that kind of knocked him back. JD Crow talked about it. He's normally pretty fast, kind of unfortunate circumstances where he's at. And Jay Hilliard and Robert Rock just did not have the playoffs they wanted. Not really a true reflection of how their season went. But speaking of seasons, we're at the end of all the Area 51 series here. I think we were the finale tonight, right, Gaio?
Yeah, this was the finale. I say we wrapped up championship week on Sunday night, crowning Gabe Butler as the champion over there. We got Nick DeGroot over on the Tuesday Indy Series, and tonight getting Kevin Freeze the title here as well. So it's been an amazing season. We're going to take a quick break off here at the Area 51. Take a week off, but we're going to come right back with a 6-race season, kind of a recruiting season, if you will. So for those that watch, or for those that maybe want to pass it over to your buddies, you can find all the info at area51iracing.com. We'll forward over to the Area 51 Facebook page, and then from there you'll get all the info for Discord and so on and so forth. So expect to see some racing over there. Obviously, the big changes will be bringing Atlanta Motor Speedway in, bringing iRacing Superspeedway back. And like I said, just a quick kind of fun race, quick 6-race fun race season before we kick off 2023 strong with hopefully a really big group of drivers, hopefully in the 30-40 range. Hopefully get everybody meshed well in together for that one. So up in the air for broadcasting, we might do some, maybe just do some learning on the others, but either way, though, it's going to be great, and I definitely look forward to seeing this series and this league continue to grow as it has.
Absolutely, and growing it has done. Gael, I can honestly say here on air, just from watching, from being just a new racer coming into Area 51 and just getting my feet wet with guys like Larry Yingling, Chad Wilkes, Ron Kelly, Charles Johnson, Jim Brooks, racing with the crew, to now being in the broadcast booth with you and going under your wing and going from a driver analyst to lead broadcaster. It's been a fun ride, and I'm looking forward to what the new seasons hold. And, speaking of how these seasons went, Boomer, I'm going to give you kind of the floor here for any last-minute things you want to talk about, maybe how you thought the season went over from the IndyCar side and even what you saw here tonight.
Yeah, definitely. We've had a lot of fun over on Tuesday nights. Now I'm running those shows over there, and Gail's kind of floating in between this show here on Thursday nights and on Tuesdays and Sunday nights, and it's a lot of fun. Obviously, we have a lot of fun here at Green White Checker TV, and I think the biggest thing to highlight is that there's plenty of action, and no matter what series we're running in, definitely want to plug this league. And maybe you're out there watching this broadcast, watching it back. Maybe you're an iRacer who's interested in getting into something like this, and I would definitely say that this is probably one of the most welcoming leagues I've ever found. Obviously, not to be a part of as a racer, but as a broadcaster, you get to see the behind the scenes, and this has been a great community to be able to be a part of and broadcast. And obviously, I know Guile's got some great ties to this league, especially with his dad Jim running it, and him having some admin parts to the league as well. But it's a lot of fun to be here, and I'm just absolutely thankful to be able to call the action here on Green White Checker TV every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday nights. So make sure I don't know what our schedule will be just yet for the off season, but make sure you tune in for those off season events. And once we get back to the full season, the first season of 2023, you're going to be sure that you don't want to miss any of that action, no matter what series we're running.
Absolutely. Make sure you guys, if you want to join Area 51, get a hold of Guile Brooks. He can get you the Discord link to get you chiming in here with us, having some conversating going on, and we'll find a league where you can run in. Area 51, they welcomed me with open arms years ago, and man, it's been a fun ride, and now I get to kind of help broadcast some of these races. So before we go on too long, thank you guys for joining us this season. It's been an absolute blessed opportunity to be here in the booth for you guys calling this action, starting the season kind of as the driver commentator and then getting scared to death, learning all the different buttons and tricks that Guile Brooks threw at me. But hey, getting to wrap up the season feeling at least a little bit comfortable doing this. I thank you guys for your patience. I thank you guys for allowing me to do this each and every Thursday night and to spend it with you. It has been a pleasure. So, for myself and Boomer Logan and Guile Brooks, we are signing off for the evening and for the season. Be keeping up with social media links and other things as we get ready to go into this 6-race recruiting season. Come join us over here at Area 51. So have a good night, and we'll see you soon.